So, I wasn't planning any more LeBron James Lakers videos, but after the last week, the utter nonsense I've seen, I've got to respond to it and give you guys my 2 cents. As when it comes to the NBA media, or should I say, the La Media, after the Lakers were swept, they were in full effect covering for LeBron as well as the Lakers. And the craziest thing I saw was Brian Windhorst, ESPN veteran, said the Lakers being swept was the most hard-fought sweep he'd ever seen. The Lakers bias the LeBron slant in the media. At this point, you gotta be blind not to see it. And for LeBron himself, he plays into it all the time. As after being swept, per usual, he took control of the narrative and changed the conversation. As after losing, he heavily implied he might retire, call it quits, and finally hang it up. Now look, if you're an NBA fan the past, 3-5 years, you know that's not true and it was never happening. As all the way back in 2018, even this year and last year, he was talking about playing with Bronny and playing into his mid-40s. If you fell for this retirement bait, you're a sucker and naive NBA fan. As what it really was a calculated move to take attention away from him, being swept, and breaking the last 2 shots of the Lakers season. And per usual, the media took this bait, ran with it, and Lakers and LeBron had a conversation for the next 2 to 3 days. Now, one thing I hate more than the NBA media is excuses from all-time great players. And LeBron, once again, directly, leaked to the media he's playing on a hurt foot that may or may not require surgery. And this being leaked was very convenient timing, as once again, it changed the narrative and the perception of the series with the Lakers losing. And I feel like a lot of fans have short-term memory loss, as before the playoffs even started, LeBron James, he was cleared and he went to the quote, LeBron James of foot doctors. And what this doctor implied is LeBron James, he was somehow superhuman and never seen someone recover so fast from a foot injury. That was the narrative before the playoffs started. And versus Memphis and Golden State, there was no injury talk or him being hurt. As versus Memphis, it was don't poke the bear, and versus the Warriors, it was LeBron James ended the Golden State dynasty. It wasn't until he lost and was swept the injury once again made an appearance and was an excuse for LeBron. And look, when it comes to playoffs, first off, everyone is battling something and banged up in one way or another. Number 2, if you're on the court, you're supposed to perform. And number 3, past legends in NBA history have played through injuries, won championships, and made deep playoff runs, minus excuses. And the one guy LeBron loves comparing himself to is indeed Michael Jordan. And looking at Jordan's career, not once did he blame injuries or being hurt, teammates being hurt, anything like that. Look at 1998, Jordan's last year on the Bulls at age 35. That year, MJ's team was the oldest in the NBA. They were hurt, old, and running on fumes. And him being 35 in the late 90s is like being 40 in today's NBA, given advancements in science, training, and overall technology. For that entire playoff run in 98, Jordan played with a broken finger just like Kobe in 2010. And despite having a broken finger, he had one of the greatest playoff runs and carry jobs with 0 excuses, averaging 32.4 points, 5.1 boards, nearly 4 assists, on 46% shooting. At age 35, he played 41.5 minutes per game, the most in the playoffs, and 21 total games, also the most in the playoffs. And for some perspective, Jordan this run had 14 games of 30 plus points. All time in NBA history for a single playoff run that only trails Kobe, Hakeem, and himself. And who he's tied with is one of the best players and carry jobs of all time. You have Iverson in 01, Kobe in 2010, LeBron in 2017, and Kawhi in 2019. And looking at the NBA Finals versus Utah, he averaged an astounding 33.5 points per game in the finals. higher than 0-1 Shaq, 95 Hakeem, and better than any Steph Curry finals of his career. And in Game 6, the creme de la creme, Michael Jordan, with a broken finger, on the road, with Pippen hurt, Rodman benched, put up an all-time performance, scoring 45 points and becoming the oldest player ever to score 40 in a finals game. And if you look at Jordan's supporting cast, ranked in NBA history, it's one of the worst of all time, especially offensively. And looking at his best teammate Scottie Pippen, who wasn't an all-star and missed nearly 40 games, he was awful in the playoffs, averaging 16.8 points, 7.1 boards, 5.2 assists on 42% shooting. If LeBron James' second best teammate put up those numbers, what would the narrative be? Oh, he has no help, his team stinks, he's carrying that roster. Look at this year in 2023, what Anthony Davis did. He averaged 22.6 points, 14.1 boards, 3.1 blocks on 52% shooting. Despite Anthony Davis being drastically better than Pippen, and I would say better than LeBron James, he got little or no credit. And why I'm talking about LeBron versus Jordan, the Lakers, the Bulls, it was LeBron on Instagram once again was self-proclaiming himself as the greatest of all time. He was quoting some Jay-Z lyric of why he isn't first all time on everyone's list, why he isn't the greatest, something like that. LeBron once again is so thirsty to the greatest player of all time. And this year in 2023, in the fourth quarter versus Denver, he had a prime chance to prove he was on that level of Michael Jordan. But in the fourth quarter versus Denver, he had 3 points on 1 of 6 shooting with 2 bricks in the final 30 seconds. Compared to Jordan, who in Game 6 versus Utah scored 16 points in the fourth on 40% shooting while dominating on both ends of the court. And if you want to talk clutch time shooting, it's always a big debate between Jordan and LeBron. If you look at their overall careers in the playoffs, the final 24 seconds game time go-ahead shots in the fourth quarter overtime, LeBron James barely is under 37%, compared to Jordan, who's at 50%. And look, I do want to clarify, LeBron James the player is at worst a top 3 player of all time, at least in my opinion. But the constant narrative shifts, excuses, it just turns me off so much from a big fan of LeBron. Look back at 2018 in the finals versus Golden State. In that series, he played really well. He was throwing down hard dunks, off the backboard dunks, and playing like LeBron James. But after the series in Game 4, after being swept, he came out to the press conference with Michael Jackson's scarf wrapped around his hand. And what did he claim? He claimed he broke his hand after Game 1. Once again, blaming injuries, why he lost, why he played bad, and why his team didn't succeed. Look at the following year in 2019 with Los Angeles. Late in the year, he activated playoff mode, went 3-12, and missed the playoffs. After that, what did he blame? Injuries, of course. 2021, before the playoffs started, he claimed a storm was coming and then proceeded to lose in the first round to Phoenix in 6 games. 2022, after getting a super team in a big 3, he told fans, keep that same energy about my squad and the season's over. What happened? They missed the playoffs and that tweet was deleted. And of course now in 2023, the quote-unquote foot injury is the excuse and reason the Lakers lost in the West Finals. I think at this point a lot of NBA fans, they're tired of LeBron's antics, controlling the narrative, and constantly putting himself in the GOAT debate and being a self-promoter. Compare LeBron's mindset of claiming he's the GOAT, greatest of all time, to Michael Jordan, who rarely if ever speaks on the subject, and when he does, he shies away from calling himself the greatest of all time. As when it comes to sports, all-time great players, what they should do is have their peers and fans speak for themselves, not the other way around. And the sad thing for LeBron James, his resume is fantastic. He has the numbers, the championships, the MVPs, doing that conversation, the greatest players of all time. He doesn't need excuses, narratives, the media, or self-promotion to put himself in that debate. And in my personal view, like I've always said, calling yourself the greatest is not the way to go about the subject, even if you believe it. And one last thing I do want to touch on, when it comes to Michael Jordan excuses, even in Washington, he had none and gave none. And he very easily could have. As in Washington, he had knee surgery, numerous ankle problems, a bad back, broken fingers. Not once did Jordan Washington make excuses, as even at age 40, he played all 82 games, something LeBron James has done once in 20 years. So that right there is the end of the video. I wanted to call out the media, LeBron's antics, and his comparison to Jordan as the greatest player of all time. As always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.